How is everybody doing this evening? Oh, I need to plug in this. I didn't realize I need to plug in my phone. It's actually kind of dying right now. But how is everybody doing tonight? I hope that you guys are having an amazing night. As you guys tune into this live, if you wouldn't mind, drop your location in the chat. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Hey Eddie, how you doing, brother? How is the weather in California right now, Eddie? The weather is actually really nice here in Arizona. I've actually been, really pleased with the weather and just how wonderful it has been right now. So really excited to get on tonight, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful for TikTok that has this platform that enables us to connect. Low 80s, awesome. I think it's in the 70s here as well. Actually, it was actually warm today. Let me see. Oops. Let me see here what the weather is right now. It is 64 degrees, so it's actually pretty. Maricar, good morning, where you're at. I'm in Arizona. It is 11:05 p.m. here. What time is it where you're at, Maricar? And I love the weather right now. I mean, the weather in Arizona is so perfect right now. Obviously, I know in the next couple months it's going to start warming up and get really hot, and so I'm loving it as long as we can have this beautiful weather, But thank you to everybody who's hopping on the live. Thank you to those that are tapping the screen. I'm going to be talking about something that is affecting the majority of us. And so when you tap on the screen, it's letting TikTok know that this message is important. And so they'll actually start to push out this information to people that are needing to hear this. And so I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. And, as you guys tune into this live, okay, please let me know where you're tuning in from. Okay. The city, country, state, let me know kind of, where you might be located. And Eddie, really appreciate you being on. But I love getting on. This is something that I'm so passionate about. I feel like, I've gone to school again and I'm learning so that I can, share this information with people that really need to hear this. My dad passed away Easter Sunday, 2017. And, I have a brother who 21 years ago, I can't believe it's been 21 years since my brother passed away. But, this is information that I really believe that people need to hear. And so many of us are affected by something so simple. I mean, it's not simple. It's called insulin resistance, but it's something that literally affects 93% of people. And Areta, thank you so much for being on. And thank you to everyone who is tuning in, right? If you're just jumping into this live, we are, and I don't get this restriction. Live visit, hold on a second. It's so weird. It's showing that I'm being restricted. It's saying that I'm redirecting people to purchase products outside of TikTok, but the funny thing is I haven't shared anything. So we'll see what happens with this uphill, but it's so frustrating to be restricted in the first few minutes of this live. I haven't mentioned anything. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with TikTok. But it's a little bit, I just got restricted. So, I think, I don't know what it is. I think it's interesting that, so many of us are being restricted in a very short period of time. And all I'm trying to do is share content that I think can make a really big difference in people's lives. Insulin resistance, I don't have my link. I actually took my link down. So I'm not sure why I'm being restricted, because I don't have any, contact information. My phone number's not on here. My email address, nothing is on here. Not even my website. for people to go if they're wanting to, try the Feel Great system, which is what I teach. I don't even have that listed on my Facebook. And so I don't get it. In fact, it's saying that, the appeal is not approved. And I just don't understand that. But nonetheless, there's not much that I can do. And Lizo Cohen, I'm not exactly sure what your comment was for. Your comment is certainly inappropriate, so I'm going to mute you and delete you. Eddie, I appreciate that. And Eddie, if you want to hop on, I'm restricted, so I really don't care. It's not taking anything away, but insulin resistance, folks, it affects so many people. Most people have no idea what insulin resistance is, but it affects us all, whether it's, skin issues, whether it's weight issues, right? How many of you are struggling with your weight, right? You're carrying this excess weight that you just can't seem to get rid of. How many of you are sleeping poor, right? How many of you have high blood pressure and high cholesterol? The reality is that when we go to a doctor, our doctors are constantly diagnosing and treating our symptoms, but they're, far too often, all we're doing is we're throwing medications at our symptoms. Medications don't actually fix the root cause. And I think people tend to forget that medications are not designed to heal us, right? They're designed to be a temporary solution. They're masking the symptoms. It's essentially you're taking a Band-Aid and you're putting it on a gunshot wound, right? That's essentially what happens. Now, here's my mascot right here. Hey, Charlie. She's my mascot. She she just wants to bite me, but she can be a sweetheart sometimes. But the reason why I get on these lives every single day, even if I get restricted, is because at the end of the day, I want people to know, I don't care how long you've been dealing with your health issues, whether you're diabetic or pre-diabetic, whether you've got heart disease or kidney disease. I'm somebody that had kidney disease and I fixed it. I reversed it naturally, right? I didn't use meds. I wasn't on some crazy diet. It was something simple. And this is why I get on here, because at the end of the day, if I can help just one person make a difference in their health, then I feel like I'm kind of on the Lord's errand, right? I feel like I'm doing God's work in sharing this information. Because look around us, folks. If we went to our family reunion, think about this for a second, okay? If we went to our family reunion, okay, how many of us have these health issues? And if you want to make a big impact in business or in life, you've got to be able to solve a major problem. And right now, here in the United States and really globally, insulin resistance happens to be the biggest health issue in the world. And my focus is on insulin resistance, the root cause behind metabolic health issues like obesity, diabetes, fatty liver, Alzheimer's, dementia, right? Heart disease, PCOS, erectile dysfunction, and so many other health issues. And so think about your family reunion, right? How many of your loved ones, right? You've got both sides of the family there. How many of your loved ones are facing these health challenges? And better yet, seriously, think about this for a second. If you had a solution to insulin resistance, whose life could you change? If you had a solution to the biggest health issue in the world, whose life could you change? Imagine saving lives and reducing suffering globally, right? Imagine sharing something that can really make an impact in people's health. And what I love about this is we have a solution to a problem. And I love teaching this because it helps people to understand what insulin resistance is. I think it's important for us to understand what it is so that we can start connecting the dots, right? Insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, right? Metabolic health, you know, it's a big deal. Now, before we get started, okay, if you wouldn't mind, drop your location in the chat. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from, okay? I'm in Arizona. Eddie, I know you're in California. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Put your city or state, maybe your country, okay? And ladies and gentlemen, if you're struggling with your health, this could help you. And if there's somebody that you know and love and care about that needs to hear this, feel free to share this live with them so that they can hop on, they can listen, and they can even ask questions. You know, Solomon said in the Bible, in all you're gaining, gain understanding. And let me tell you, understanding insulin resistance changed my life. So whether you are following me or you're new here, welcome, okay? So the issue that I talk about, and I'm going to be very brief tonight because of, you know, the restriction, but this is a condition that affects 93% of people. You want to know what the scariest part about it is? Most people don't even know that they have it because it's rarely tested. Doctors will test what they can medicate. Remember that. Doctors test what they can medicate. Okay? Think about this. Insulin resistance is a major driver of heart disease. It is the leading cause of heart disease, which is the number one killer in the world. Okay? You know, you think of heart disease, you think of the dreadful C word, right? And they don't allow me to say it, but I'm going to say it anyways. I just got restricted, so it doesn't matter. But heart disease and cancer are the two leading causes of death worldwide. And what most people don't realize is that insulin resistance happens to be the driver of that. And so the United States, unfortunately, is actually one of the worst countries when it comes to this. And Dan Powell, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate that. And folks, if you could do me a favor, okay? When you tap the screen, you're letting TikTok know that this content needs to be pushed out. I've been restricted tonight, which is why the numbers are low. But if you would be willing to do me a favor and maybe sharing this or tapping the screen, this is going to push content out, hopefully, to people that need to hear this. 74% of Americans are overweight or obese. That's 3 out of 4 people. 54% of our country is either diabetic or pre-diabetic. And 20% more adolescents today are dealing with diabetes now than they did 10 years ago. Drop a 1 in the chat if you struggled with any of this, okay? And by the way, if you're struggling with insulin resistance, whether it's skin issues, whether it's diabetes, prediabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol issues, okay? If you have struggled or are struggling, put a number 1 in the chat, okay? All it does is it just helps me to know who has struggled with this, right? Eddie, I know that I've talked to you, and Miji, I know I've talked to you, right? It amazes me how many people are affected by these. Here's another one, okay? How many of us have dealt with anxiety and depression? This is a big one, okay? More and more people are struggling mentally, and no one is connecting the dots. What about fertility issues? Casey, sorry I missed your call, brother. I'm just trying to just share a little content with the few people that are on this live since the restriction. But, you know, fertility, sperm counts are decreasing by 1%. The biggest problem, I think, that most people need to be aware of, and maybe just think about this, is that think of all of the symptoms that you're dealing with. And think every time you go to your doctor, and be honest in your answer about this, okay? When you go to a doctor, do you really believe that they're helping to fix the root cause? Or do you think they're just managing your symptoms? Because I don't know about you, but when I donated a kidney to my sister's husband back in November of 2014, 7 years later, I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease. And my nephrologist said that, Troy, if you don't lose weight, if you don't change your diet, if you don't start making these changes, you are going to end up on dialysis. And so my doctor gave me Ozempic, right? How many of you love being on this medication? It doesn't work. It didn't work for me. And if it's working for you, awesome. I just want you to understand something. Every medication that exists has a laundry list of side effects. And if you don't believe me, go look it up. The side effects to these medications are dangerous. In fact, they're more dangerous than maybe the disease that you have. Right? My mom happens to be dealing with type 3 diabetes, which we know to be Alzheimer's and dementia. Catfish Cajun, thank you for being on. And Tanya, you're absolutely right. They don't fix the root cause. They diagnose and treat the symptoms. You know, I have a doctor that's on my team. He's a retired doctor. And he said that there is a saying amongst doctors, right? And he could say this at this point because he's retired now. But he said, if you're healthy or you're dead, there is absolutely zero money to be made. And it's true. If you're healthy, you're not on meds, you're not going to the doctor. And clearly, if you are no longer here, there's no money to be made. But as long as you are sick, and maybe they keep you healthy enough to need a refill on your prescriptions, folks, this is why most of us are frustrated. This is why most of us are tired. And, you know, we feel like we're doing everything right. And you feel like you're taking 2 steps back. Right? And Eddie, you're absolutely right. You know, Eddie says, I believe they haven't learned about diet, nutrition, just how to prescribe meds for symptoms. When you think about the education that they have to have in school when they're getting their degree and becoming a doctor, right? I don't know what the exact hours are, but I know it's probably less than 5, right, that are required for their degree to become a doctor, right? They're not learning nutrition and lifestyle. And that plays a vital role, right? Here's the difference between type 1 diabetic and a type 2 diabetic, right? Everybody wants to say that type 2 diabetes is genetic, but it's not, right? You eat yourself to type 2 diabetes. A type 1 diabetes, a type 1 diabetic, right? They have an autoimmune issue that's attacking their pancreas. So their pancreas isn't making any insulin. So they have to get insulin, right? Without it, they die. But the problem is, and I want you guys to truly understand this, is that insulin is not your friend. See, every time you and I eat food, especially sugar and especially carbs, it spikes your blood sugar. And then your body releases this hormone called insulin to bring this back down. That's normal. That's what's supposed to happen. The problem is that you and I are eating literally all day long. And so if you're eating all day long, what happens? Your insulin stays up here. Your body has 2 fuel sources, okay? If there's anything you learn tonight, learn this, okay? Your body is either burning sugar from the foods that you are eating, or you are burning your stored fat. So if you've got some excess calories, maybe you've got the protruding belly, you can't see your toes, right? You've got the love handles, right? The visceral fat, okay? Your body is either storing fat or you are burning fat. But you can't do both, right? You're either burning it or storing it. And for the most part, 93% of us are storing it. So why are we all struggling with this? I've kind of already given you a hint, right? Think about your own health as I talk, but the reason why the majority of us are so sick today, and when I say sick, I'm meaning metabolically, right, is because we're eating all the time. And Eddie, that was me too. I'm a foodie. I freaking love food. I love sugar. We all love sugar, right? They put addictive chemicals in it that makes it, you know, it's like the the kernel, right? They put in an addicting chemical that makes you crave it all the time, right? It's true. How many of you are craving sugar and salt, especially late at night? If you have cravings, that is a sign of insulin resistance. If you're hungry all the time, you could eat a meal and you're already thinking about your next meal, right? How many of you eat a meal and then 20, 30 minutes later, you're tired? And Catfish Cajun, right? You know, I've been using a system called the Feel Great system. I've been using it. It's exactly why I teach it, because it helps improve insulin sensitivity. It works with the body, not against it. And so the big issue here, in my opinion, is that most doctors are not talking about insulin resistance, which happens to be the root cause of all of our health issues. No one talks about it. And this is why I'm so passionate about sharing this information, even if I get restricted, which I've been restricted twice today. I had a video that I posted today and I got restricted. And Catfish Cajun, I'm happy to help you. Okay. Now, I removed my link, right? But I'm happy to connect, right? I've pinned this, right? I don't know if you can see this, but TikTok allows me to have a short form that you can fill out if you want to learn more and you want to stay in touch. So if you're willing to fill that, Eddie, I love that. Okay. And Catfish Cajun, I'm happy to help you. Here's what I can sincerely, honestly tell you. Guys, I talk about a natural system that's helped me. I'm not here to convince anybody to use it. If you want to try it, awesome. If you don't, awesome. They did. I got kicked off earlier today. In fact, you know, I had the product on the TikTok shop and I've been suspended off the TikTok shop for 3 days. I've appealed it and I'm hoping that I can get that, get that back. But either way, folks, I'm going to continue to teach this, right? Whether I get restricted or not. I don't understand the restriction. I really don't. But at the end of the day, I don't make any medical claims. I'm not a doctor. I'm not prescribing anything. I'm teaching people to understand what insulin resistance is so that people can start to connect the dots. Knowledge is power. When you understand how your body works and when you understand what is causing insulin resistance, it helps us to make better decisions. And Catfish Cajun, if it's okay with you, as soon as I get off this live, I will be more than happy to send you a message. I'm happy to do that. The big issue here, folks, and I'm only going to spend a few more minutes and I'm going to hop off. I'm going to get on here every single day, no matter what. And just so that you guys know, right? If you're on IG or the Tube, I'm on there as Health Coach Troy as well. Okay. So if you want to, I'm happy to connect with you guys there as well. So Catfish Cajun, I don't know if you heard that, but on IG, Insta, GRAM, right? I am on there as Health Coach Troy. I'm happy to connect with people that sincerely want to learn how to improve your health. That's what this is all about. What I love about the system is that it's saved my life. I have helped, guys, if you saw the text messages that I've gotten in the last 2 years, it would blow you away. Right? I'm so grateful that I don't pay per text, right? Because I would be broke. But what I love about this the most is the impact that this is making on people's lives. I always wanted to become a police officer. And for like 19 years, I'm not joking, for 19 years, I tried to become a police officer. And for whatever reason, God has kept me from doing that. And I'm actually kind of glad. I don't know that I would want to be a police officer anyways. It's hard enough that people always think that I look like a police officer. But I feel like I make more of an impact doing this than I probably ever would as a police officer anyways. Right? The only regret that I have being in this business is that somebody didn't share this with me years earlier. My dad passed away on Easter Sunday, 2017, And he passed away from something that could have and should have been prevented. My brother, back in January of 2005, he was 33 years old when he took his life. Folks, look around you, right? Look at the people in your own family. How many of you are dealing with weight issue? How many of you are dealing with blood pressure and cholesterol? How many of you are waking up in the middle of the night because you've got to go to the bathroom? And Eddie, I'm grateful that you are in this with me. Guys, there are so many people, I'm not joking, and I pray for these people every single day that are looking for this. There are so many people around you that have no idea that a simple tool like this exists. It works. It has been studied by more than 24 world-renowned institutions, the #1 heart hospital in the world. It's been studied by BYU and Stanford and UNLV and a bunch of other institutions. And hardly anybody knows about it. And yet it has helped more people. You know, one of my, she's not my partner, she's my upline. You know, somebody that I look up to. She's a retired nurse of 40 years. She was a nurse for 40 years. She has helped more people improve their metabolic health just in a few years of doing this than she ever did as a nurse in 40 years. That alone should tell you guys something. If you love going to your doctor and if you love being on these meds, I am not your guy. Okay? I don't work with everyone. I don't work with people who just want a quick fix. Folks, the Feel Great system is the easiest thing I have ever used, I've ever come across. I used to be a pharmaceutical rep, right? I was going into the Mayo Clinic. I was going into these facilities and working with doctors. I have never seen anything like this in my entire life. I'm 47 years old. And Eddie, I'm grateful for you. And I'm grateful that your family is, you know, experiencing what you've been able to experience, right? You've changed your family's life. That's what this is all about. And somehow I don't get the restriction that happens, right? I'm also doing a live on TikTok and I don't get the restriction that happens. But either way, I'm going to get on here every single day and I'm going to teach and share this regardless of whether I get restricted, because maybe there's one person that just happens to scroll through and find this channel, and maybe there's something that I share and say that, you know, makes an impact. You know, I've literally had customers that have watched me for months and even over a year before they decided to purchase the Feel Great system. And they keep kicking their feet because they wish that they would have just started using it when they learned about it. But we are skeptical people, right? We don't know if something is just another gimmick, right? There's so many things. How do you know? I mean, there's another company right now, believe it or not, that is promoting a copycat to the Feel Great system. It's not the real thing. We have no idea what's in it. And so you've got to be really, really careful about what it is that you are buying. The reality, folks, is that we have a proof of a solution that's been around for over 30 years. It is clinically proven. It is effective. It's helping people improve their insulin sensitivity, which is great, right? I encourage everyone to work with your doctor. By the way, your doctor can actually look this up in the physician's desk reference. This has changed my life. It has changed so many others. And this is why I continue to get on here and teach this, because there's so many people that have no idea that there is something that is just as effective and often works better than the medications, and it's made from plants and food. It's simple. It's a simple tool. And yet it works 100% of the time. And so, folks, feel free to watch my pin videos. I talk about this. I educate, I share and help people to understand what this is, why it works, and most importantly, what you can do to start improving your health. And if there is anything that I personally can do to help you, please let me know. Okay. I have removed my link from my profile because, TikTok doesn't like that. And I still got restricted for, being accused of redirecting somebody to, leave TikTok. I don't want people to leave TikTok. I want people to stay on TikTok. I want people to follow. I want people to stay here. So it amazes me that they, restrict me and others for doing really nothing. But if this resonates with you and if it sounds like what you're looking for, and if you're wanting to get started using the Feel Great system, guys, it'll change your life. If it doesn't work, you get your money back. That's pretty powerful, because when you think about every medication that has ever been prescribed by your doctor, when was the last time that your doctor ever prescribed something to you that had no side effects and a 90-day money back guarantee? It just doesn't happen. Doesn't work. Doesn't exist. But it does with this. Okay. Thank you guys so much for hopping on, even for the, I think we're on for a little over 30 minutes. I love getting on here. It has saved my life. I had stage 4 kidney disease. I had migraine headaches for 23 years that I don't have anymore. I sleep like a baby, and I love that. And like I said, I love making an impact in people's lives. And Eddie, there's a lot of people that are just waiting to resonate with you because you've got a story that's going to help so many people. So guys, God bless you. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. I will be on tomorrow morning. And Catfish, I will send you a message as soon as we hop off. Guys, God bless you. Have a beautiful night.